Science and technology and innovation, these are indispensable in the modern economy, in the modern world.
We held a meeting at the MSI, and we resolved among about 6 to 8 of us, local members, first to form PAASE Philippines so that we could continue to host meetings here, but also to go on a massive campaign to try to get support from the national government through the legislative and executive branches to invest more in science and technology. So it started with a white paper, a position paper that we co-authored among 6 of us, namely Ernie Pernia, Cesar Saloma, Redor Asansa, Toby Diary of Ateneo, and Alvin Colaba de la Salle, and myself.
So PAASE historically, in the past 10, 20 years for sure, have been collaborating with our counterparts here in the Philippines at various universities. And a lot of these interactions probably started as peer-to-peer. But thankfully, we have the Department of Science and Technology here in the Philippines, and they've come up with some really helpful and very impactful programs that actually enable PAASE members that are based in the United States and other parts of the world to actually come here and do extensive research and academic partnerships and collaborations.
Well, I think that one of the good things that PAASE is doing is really trying to stay in touch with the researchers and the scientists here in the Philippines. So I think that is one of the good programs that they keep on supporting some of the initiatives of our researchers and scientists here in the country, trying to align also their assistance towards the plans of the Philippine government.
It's very important that the PAASE members and scientists based in the Philippines are continuously in contact, so we will know the needs of the Filipinos and opportunities that Filipinos can have to do science with their PAASE counterparts. So these interactions, such as the conference that we're holding and the annual conferences that we have.
The Philippines and the scientists there have very unique perspective that adds to discoveries and inventions advancing in general the field.
These members, because they are part of an academy, it implies that they are productive. So they have publications, they have innovations, they have inventions, patents, and they have, they have an impact on society. Okay, so these are the people who can convince government, invest more in science and technology. And that was really the gist of our paper, our position paper in 2000. And it is Ernie Pernia who said that R&D by nature is expensive and it is a public good. So it is important for the government to take the lead in investing in R&D.
To increase the economic growth potential of the country, we cannot continue to just rely on traditional inputs into production as capital and labor. We also need to develop our expertise in science and technology and innovation so that we can come up with new systems, new ways of doing things.
I think that science, researchers, industry, and even the government is really like an ecosystem of knowledge. So I think it doesn't really matter if you're coming from a private institution or a public institution, such as a state university. I think we all have a role to play to improve the research capabilities and scientific knowledge here in the country. I think it is about time for us to realize that one of our roles as academics, as researchers, as scientists, is to actually contribute to that global body of knowledge.
And the role of this cooperation among these government agencies really is to be able to attract science and technology, global-based companies to set up shop here. And that is really key in terms of developing the science and technology innovation ecosystem in the country.
Particularly because there's that deep desire. And what PAASE does and can do more of is to promote this relationship between its members.
We really need to ratchet up the appreciation, the recognition of the importance of science and technology and innovation.
And we are all trying to attain what we call the common good, the greater, higher, long-term good of the Filipino people.
Okay, warm greetings to all and welcome to the 2021 PAASE Thanksgiving Christmas celebration. I'm Marge Pena, the chair of the PAASE Board of Directors, and I'm an associate professor at the University of South Carolina who is involved in colon cancer research. And I'm also an alumna of the University of Santo Tomas in the Philippines. Belated Thanksgiving greetings and happy Christmas holiday to the PAASE officers, board members, and to all PAASE members who are present tonight or today, this morning in the Philippines. And I would like to extend a very warm and special welcome and greetings of good cheer and goodwill to our special guest and speaker today, the Honorable Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, former President of the Republic of the Philippines. Thank you, Madam President, for graciously accepting our invitation and for honoring us with your presence at this special celebration and recognition of your significant contributions to science and technology in the Philippines. Greetings also to our PAASE member, Dr. Estrella Alabastro, the Secretary of Department of Science and Technology during the time of President Macapagal Arroyo, and to our PAASE Distinguished Vanguard Awardee, the current DOST Secretary, Dr. Fortunato de la Peña. Madam President, I'm pleased to introduce you to the Philippine American Academy of Science and Engineering, PAASE for short, an academy of distinguished and leading scientists and engineers of Filipino descent, not just in the Philippines, but also around the world. From the time that you first interacted with PAASE members in 2006 to 2007, the PAASE that you see today has grown in leaps and bounds and is making a big impact on science and technology in the Philippines and around the world. In terms of membership, we are now comprised of greater than 500 strong PhD level scientists, engineers, and medical doctors, with many more members that will be elected this year and are involved in many projects and initiatives. We are organized into 15 research expertise clusters or RECs, spanning the whole range of the social, biological, chemical, physical, computational, and engineering sciences. We have partnered with the DOST to help carry out their priority programs, and we have several projects in many provinces working with the LGU, SUC, DOST, and the NGOs in these provinces. We are championing STEM education at the primary, secondary, and tertiary levels, and we will be hosting the National STEM Bee competition next year. We also continue to write position papers as we did in 2006, and in early 2021, we submitted another one to congressmen and senators. All of the information about the PAASE's organization, activities, and initiatives can be found on our webpage. Richmond, can you share the webpage to us? We hold weekly seminars, fireside chats on various research and development topics, and the recordings of all these events can be found and are posted on our website. Thus, if you need to find any information about the PAASE and its current activities, the website is kind of like the one-stop where you can find and be informed of everything that we're doing. We're also on social media, including YouTube and Facebook. And so there's another place where you can get information and keep up to date with our activities. So I hope that with this short update on PAASE's activities, you will be inspired and motivated to be a strong champion of PAASE and its future aspirations. Thank you very much for taking the time to honor us with your presence today. And so now we will move on to the next part of our program, which is a musical number.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lisa Virata, the PAASE treasurer and a member of the PAASE BOD as well. Currently, I'm a regulatory scientist at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration here in Maryland. I'm also a graduate of the Philippine Science High School and the University of the Philippines in Diliman, where I did my undergraduate degree in biology. I'd like to introduce to you all the Cuarentados. This is the virtual choir that I'm a part of. We are all batchmates from Philippine Science High School class of 1982 and are currently based in different parts of the world. Because we all love to sing, we formed this virtual choir last July 2020 in the middle of the pandemic, and with the intent to do some fundraising for the PSH's Natatanging Guru program as our way of giving back to the school. Now, to give you a musical and a visual appetizer for this special program, here are the Cuarentados singing the traditional Filipino song, Ay, o Pag-ibig, set against the backdrops of popular tourist destinations in the Philippines. Take it away, Richmond.
Vis-a-vis, this is Giselle.
Yes.
I got word from Richmond that he lost internet connection, but looks like. Ay, 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 hanggang langit. Oh, ang pangako ng pusong umiibig. Buhat na ay makita na ang pagsinta ng pusong nagturo sa gilid ko. Hawak ka, wag mo sanang pahirapan pusong paglalanda. Pagkat magpakailanman, ikaw ang tunay kong mahal. Ay, 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 ang pag-ibig. Pag pumasok sa puso ay maligalig. Ay, 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 hanggang langit. Oh, ang pangako ng pusong umiibig.
Buhat nang kita'y makita na tama ang pagsinta ng pusong nagduro sa gilid ko, mahawa ka. Huwag mo sanang pahirapan puso kong nagdaramdam, pagkat magpakailanman ikaw ang tunay kong mahal.
Ay, 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 ang pag-ibig. Pag pumasok sa puso ay maligalig. Ay, 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 hanggang langit. Oh, ang pangako ng pusong umiibig. Ay, 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 ang pag-ibig. Pag pumasok sa puso ay maligalig. Ay, 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 hanggang langit. Oh, ang pangako ng pusong umiibig. Ay, 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 ay.
Thank you, and I hope you liked it. There'll be more later. Okay, so stay tuned.
Thank you, Lisa V, for that very vibrant music from the Cuarentados. Congratulations. At this point, I'd like to continue with the program. And I'm Giselle Concepcion. Greetings, everyone, especially to our special guest, President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, and Secretary Alabastro, and Secretary De La Peña. I'm the current PAASE president, and I'm a retired UP Diliman professor. Thank you very much for being with us today. We come to the part of the program where we will reminisce a bit about the important events from 2005 to 2007 that we are celebrating today. The story begins at the annual PAASE meeting held at the Waterfront Hotel in Cebu in mid-2005. Many of you were present at that conference. Our PAASE president then was Dr. Carlito Lebrilla, professor of chemistry at the University of California, Davis. I was the chair of the conference organizing committee, and I worked closely with the University of San Carlos. Many prominent members from overseas were in attendance. One of the plenary speakers was NEDA Director General Dr. Romulo Neri, who spoke about socio-economic issues. We held a long, in-depth discussion on the initiatives that PAASE should undertake to improve science education and research productivity in the country. In December 2005, some local PAASE members met at my home institute, the UP Marine Science Institute, to continue the discussions, and there 6 of us agreed to write a position paper on the role of science and technology in economic development. We also decided to launch a campaign to increase government support for S&T in the country, and we asked our PAASE chair of the board, Dr. Alfonso Albano, Riley Professor Emeritus of Physics at Frank Moore College in Pennsylvania, who's with us today, to write a letter of appeal to President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo to support science and technology. And sadly, our champion, Congressman Luis Villafuerte, is no longer with us today, but he is here in spirit, and I continue to talk to him, as you will see in this video. I'm hoping that later his daughter, Dr. Maggie Villafuerte Mati, will be joining us, or I might check that she's already with us at this point. So, for our reminiscences, let us watch this testimonial video that we created for you today, Madam President. Richmond?
Sir, Congressman Villafuerte, si Giselle po ito. Thanks for taking my call. Kamusta na po kayo? Salamat at nagkausap tayong muli. Grabe talaga ang pandemya. Update ko lang po kayo tungkol sa projects natin sa PAASE. Kailangan pa rin namin ang mahalaga ninyong tulong. Taus-pusong nagpapasalamat po kami mula sa PAASE, the Philippine American Academy of Science and Engineering, sa lahat ng tulong ninyo sa amin at sa buong akademya, especially the scientific community, mula nung ating PAASE campaign to increase government support for science and technology in February 2006. Alam po ninyo, kayo po ang foremost S&T champion ng PAASE. I cannot forget that day in February 2006. You called me on the cell phone a day after you received the set of PAASE S&T campaign materials that I had delivered to 60 government officials in the executive branch, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. You were the first and only government official to respond to PAASE. You told me that for early childhood education, we should make a list of skills that every child should master, starting with the 3 R's, reading, writing, arithmetic. Also make a list of 100 S&T projects and critical thinking and technical skills and competencies needed for our country's development. You said you always made sure to be the one to defend the DOST budget in Congress. It was clear you embraced the PAASE advocacy to build the S&T infrastructure and suprastructure, which is what I called our S&T human capital. Our mantra became, what good is infra without supra? Our missions and goals were in perfect synchrony. In August 2006, our PAASE campaign culminated with you bringing us to Malacanang for a meeting with President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo. Earlier, you came to my laboratory at the UP Marine Science Institute to finalize our PowerPoint presentation to President GMA with meticulous attention to detail. At Malacanang, we presented 5 recommendations to PGMA. 1. Creation of a Presidential Coordination Council for R&D. 2. Revival of Masters and PhD Scholarships Program. 3. Completion of the National Science Complex in UP Diliman. 4. support for R&D programs that would benefit rural communities, particularly the agriculture and fisheries sectors, and 5, increase in public awareness of science. The rest is history. Your efforts with PASE, UP, and the DOST resulted in the signing by President GMA of Executive Order 583, establishing the National Science Complex and the Technology Incubation Park in UP Diliman in December 2006. This was an unprecedented investment of the national government in SNT infrastructure, and you also found the source of funds for the 1.7 billion peso allocation. At the DOST, more funds were allocated to suprastructure for master's and PhD scholarships and more R&D projects. On February 16, 2007, President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo was our special guest and keynote speaker at the International Science Conference of PASE held at Century Park Hotel in Manila and hosted by then PASE President Alvin Colaba of De La Salle University. Many PASE stalwart members from the U.S. came home to attend this conference. In her speech, PGMA said, "In my State of the Nation address, in the portion drafted by Congressman Louis Villafuerte, I said that the country that wants to be a player in the global economy needs bold and well-funded research and development initiatives of its own, for in today's economy, knowledge is the greatest creator of wealth." Towards the end of PGMA's term, PASE members, Secretary Alabastro, and UP officials and faculty met with PGMA to thank her again and update her on the progress of the construction of the National Science Complex and on the initial results of some projects that were funded through the R&D funds provided through the PASE campaign. This year, I called you about our new position paper, PASE Recommendations for S&T Human Capital Development. Sir, we wrote the senators and congressmen you suggested, and we've gotten promising feedback so far. As you can see, the PASE spirit remains vibrant. We resolve to continue pursuing our taglines, Agham at Kaalaman para sa Bayan, PASE S&T Volunteerism, Outreach to Philippine Regions. So sadly, you have left our midst, but your spirit lives on in us. Madam President GMA, now PASE is calling on more S&T champions in government, academia, and industry to transform our country to a competitive S&T knowledge-driven economy. Your legacy continues as the leadership of DOST has passed on from Secretary Alabastro to Secretary de la Peña, who served as Undersecretary under you and Secretary Alabastro. Secretary de la Peña's Knowledge to Action Science for Change program has taken root and is gaining ground in many regions of the country. And for this, PASE has signed an MOU with the DOST to help carry out their programs. Maraming salamat po. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed watching the video. It makes those days come alive. And I'd like to thank Mr. Richmond Pancho, our website master, who created this video. At this point, we would like to move on to the highlight of this event, which is the recognition of the Honorable President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo for her significant contributions to science and technology in the country. Our PASE chair, Dr. Marjorie Peña, will read the testimonial. Richmond will show the testimonial on the screen.
Okay, so I'm going to read the testimonial for our Honorable President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. The officers and board members of the Philippine Academy of Science and Engineering, present this PAASE Distinguished SNT Leadership Testimonial to the Honorable Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, former President, Republic of the Philippines, in grateful recognition of her significant contributions to the development of science and technology in the country, most notably through the signing and promulgation of Executive Order Number 583, establishing the National Science Complex and Techno Incubation Park at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, Quezon City in December 2006. Through increased funding for master's and PhD scholarships, R&D projects, and the Balik Scientist Program at the Department of Science and Technology. As a result of the 2006 PAASE campaign to increase government support for science and technology in the country. Signed on the 7th day of December 2021, Gisela Concepcion, PhD, President of PAASE, and Maria Margaret Peña, PhD, Board Chair of PAASE. And I would now like to virtually hand over this recognition to the Honorable Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. Congratulations and deep gratitude again, Madam President. And now may I turn over the floor to you for your message to us.
Thank you very much, Giselle. I would also like to greet Chair Pena and the other officials of PAASE. Happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas. And to you, Giselle, as you end your tenure as President of PAASE, congratulations for your leadership. Congratulations to President-elect Santo Domingo. Thank you too for inviting me today and highlighting this celebration with a testimonial to my contribution to the establishment of the Science Complex in UP Diliman. Giselle, you're always the one recognizing my efforts. I remember fondly that after I left the presidency, you hosted an appreciation dinner for me at your home and invited the science community to join in thanking me for the Science Complex. And now you organize this Thanksgiving celebration. So for always remembering, Giselle, thank you so much. I recall that just a few days after I started my term as president in February 1, 2001, I declared my administration's commitment to increase the availability of science and technology personnel in our country if we wanted to catch up with the rest of the world. Then in my first State of the Nation address in July 2001, I called for a declaration that technology was the foundation of future economic development, as China declared in 1978. And I announced again the policy, the aim to make SNT development supportive of national development goals and policies. To carry out that SNT vision, my Secretary of Science and Technology for my entire term was Nina Alabastro, who I'm glad is with us today, ably assisted throughout my whole term by Fort De La Peña as Undersecretary, and I'm glad you're here with us today too, Fort. Traditionally, SNT policies addressed market failures. That's why Giselle called SNT a public good, meaning the government has to somehow compensate for the inadequacy of private firms and individuals' investment in SNT development, particularly R&D, because they do not expect any worthwhile financial returns, considering the long gestation period, the high cost, and the high risks. By the time of my 2004-2010 medium-term plan, the governments by then also needed to pay closer attention to the whole system of fiscal, financial, regulatory, and institutional reforms to improve the functioning of the national innovation system as a whole. The key policy challenge was to boost productivity, economic growth, and job creation through knowledge-intensive economic activities. But we had to focus first on finding the wherewithal to finance an ambitious SNT development program as well as other urgent needs. So we set out to work to improve the economy and raise more fiscal resources. Well, we implemented what we could afford first. In 2001, it was first to increase SMT and math content in education and improve English proficiency, English being the main language of SMT. But after EVAT of 2005, in my SONA of 2006, I adopted Louis Villafuerte's argument that to step into the future, a country that wants to be a player in the global economy needed bold and well-funded research and development initiatives. And to that end, we continuously increased the budget for science and technology and education as recommended in the 5-point presentation that Giselle told us about in her own speech earlier. In early August of 2006, Louis got my approval for 1 billion pesos for infrastructure, postgraduate scholarships, R&D for SNT, again, as recommended by Giselle in her 2006 presentation. And the amount will also be used for a national science complex, which Giselle had also recommended. Toward the end of August of that year, Louis arranged for then UP President Emerlinda Roman, Giselle, and some others from PAASE to make a presentation, which I understand she and Louis crafted together. At that meeting, because he had asked for a commitment of 1 billion beforehand, I agreed to his request for an initial appropriation of 500 billion for the ongoing budget deliberation. And in December of 2006, I signed the EO that you are recognizing me for today to establish the Science Complex and Techno Incubation Park. And then, as Giselle said, we met in February 2007, and that was when I signed another executive order creating the Presidential Coordinating Council on RRD, again, another recommendation of Giselle in her 5-point presentation. About that time, I came across a UNESCO benchmark saying that modernization would need a critical mass of R&D capable manpower to attract technology-based investors into the country. And that benchmark of UNESCO was 340 per million of population, whereas we only had 38 per million of population. In April 2007, I met with in a delegation headed by Dado Banatao of Silicon Valley. And they presented to me a plan to achieve the UNESCO benchmark, but within 15 years. We had to start somewhere. Dean Cristina Guevara of UP noted that no scholarships and no funds had been given for R&D since 1972. And this was already 2007. So my budget secretary, Nonoy Andaya, upon my instructions, looked for the funds and found an additional 3 billion pesos for science and technology, engineering, research and development technology. And that included 1 billion for scholarships for master's and doctoral degrees in engineering in 7 universities led by UP Diliman, as well as, according to Nina Alabastro, in her recollections to me when after my term, 2 billion pesos going to engineering, research, and development infrastructure. And that's your complex that you're talking about. During Giselle's party in her home, the UP scientists were telling me about their pleasant absorption problem. They said that, how could they spend the billions? They had never had endowments that reached hundreds of millions, not to mention billions. But You scientists did a great job with that science building. The six, I believe, six science buildings in UP Diliman, as well as renovating the College of Engineering. I hope to visit those buildings one of these days. So it was really a great time that you did it, and I am so happy. And as Giselle pointed out, in a speech drafted for me for an international forum, also at that time, an unprecedented number of Filipino expatriate scientists and engineers were supported to come home to collaborate with our local researchers. Fast forward, it's now 15 years from the time that we met. Now, I don't know where we are in the UNESCO benchmark because you are the scientist, not me. I am simply a layman. And then on top of that, we have the coronavirus. And although there is an Omicron, it is believed that soon countries will reach the point when the pandemic will become endemic, and we will be more concerned with, more mortalities rather than the sickness itself. It will be like the flu. And also for the world economy, the world seems to be over. But the pandemic has left scars on the world and highlighted the challenges facing the world's pursuit of sustainable development. So now the world focuses on economic recovery and green development. And of course, because innovation powers sustainable development, as Giselle ends her term as president of PAASE, she bequeaths an organization that is more relevant than ever. Today, I learned so much about PAASE. And all I can say is, wow, may your tribe increase to a critical mass. And to you, Giselle, again, as you exit the presidency of PAASE, for your leadership, congratulations and thank you.
Thank you again, Madam President. At this time, I would bring back Giselle to have a few more words to offer.
Maraming salamat, Madam President. I'm embarrassed and I'm humbled by you having mentioned my name many times. It was a collective effort, and I showed the photos of the persons who worked hard with me, very hard. So it is really a ton of commitment in PAASE. And we span the ages from the octogenarians to the septuagenarians to the very young ones, not just the young ones, okay? And our leadership is passing to dynamic, brilliant leaders in PAASE. And I always say, Madam President, in absence, there is presence. If you did well, then even when you're gone, it continues and it becomes even better, led by the new dynamic leaders. So at this point, I would like to call on our illustrious former secretary, Estrella Mina Alabastro, to give her message to us. And this would be followed by our current secretary, Fortunato Boy de la Peña. May we hear a few words from you? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Giselle. And magandang umaga, magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. At the outset, I would like to express my appreciation to PAASE for this tribute to PGMA, belated though it may be, to recognize her invaluable contributions to S&T development in the country. The Philippines is not lacking in policies supporting S&T development. But at the end of the day, what matters is where the money goes. Documents show that the huge infusion of government funds for S&T development during PGMA's administration was unprecedented. Let me cite the areas where I think the greatest impact was felt and continues to be felt. Development of S&P human resources and the development of R&D infrastructure are twin concerns that are intimately intertwined. And this was recognized by PGMA as shown by her unwavering support for the science and engineering complexes in UP Diliman. These are the R&D facilities envisioned to provide the venues where researchers all over the country from all sectors, public and private, can get together to collaborate to do significant R&D for the people's benefit. It was during PGMA's term that 2 graduate scholarship programs of the OST were instituted, the AST-HRDP for science and ERDTP for engineering, which I believe are still very much alive. If you will recall, it was during the annual PAASE meeting in 2007 in Manila, when PGMA committed 200 million pesos for graduate scholarships, 100 million of which was given to the OST. This was used to fund the first batch of ERDTP scholars to pursue graduate studies in selected 7 Philippine universities and foreign institutions. Our ERDTP scholars continue to make us proud with their achievements, such as the design of our first microsatellite, Diwata-1. Although the UP Science Complex was conceptualized and initiated prior to PGMA's term, the 1.8 billion which she provided gave the boost for its rapid development. The 3 billion for the ERDTP divided 1-2 between scholarships and infrastructure, enabled UP Diliman to construct world-class engineering laboratories manned by competent researchers and mentors. The last area that I would like to highlight is the mitigation of natural disasters risks through S&T. At the recent handover by NAST to DOST of Pagtanaw 2050, its report on the STI Foresight Project, the panelists were asked to identify the S&T area where the Philippines is the strongest. Dr. William Padulina, a former secretary of DOST, unhesitatingly replied, natural disasters risk management, citing specifically the roles of PAASE and PBOX. It was during PGMA's term that we were able to procure our first Doppler radars, 7 of them using government funds. In addition, we were able to secure grants from JICA for 3 top-of-the-line Doppler radars. These improvements enabled PAASE to give more accurate, timely forecasts, especially during extreme weather events. This was accompanied by the upgrading of personnel, taking advantage of our vibrant international linkages with the help of overseas Filipino scientists and engineers. At a recent congressional meeting, where data on personnel of PAASE and PBOX were presented, our representatives were amazed at the number of PhD holders in these 2 agencies. PGMA continues to be a strong advocate of S&T, even beyond her presidency. And we would like to thank her specifically for her support of the PAASE modernization bill, which while she was serving in Congress. Maraming salamat po, PGMA. Mabuhay po kayo.
Maraming salamat po, Secretary Alabastro. Ang medyo inilinaw natin ngayon is ang nag-umpisa ng fundraising sa UP ay yung sa National Science Complex which was led by the PAASE. Kasama po kayo doon. Kaya naintindihan po natin yung campaign together. Tapos nagbunga yon, yung buong ERDT, 3.5 billion ang investment ni PGMA during that time. Unprecedented sa katotohanan lang po sa buong storya ng Pilipinas. Maraming salamat po. At this point, we would like to welcome Secretary Boy de la Peña to give his message. Secretary Boy is muted.
Ayan, okay na, sir. Okay, good morning. Ito pa, oh. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Wala ba yun?
Okay na,
sir. Okay na yun. Sorry, I am at the Philippine Science High School right now and I'm using a different machine. Magandang umaga sa lahat. Unang-una sa ating dating Pangulo, Presidente Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo. Of course, sa aking boss ng 10 taon, si Secretary Nina Alabastro. At sa aking dating kasama sa cabinet, si Secretary Ernie Pernia. Sa mga opisyalis ng PAASE, pangunguna ni President Giselle Concepcion at si Dr. Peña, Marge Peña, at sa incoming President, si Dr. Santo Domingo. Hindi ko na iisa-isahin ang mga pangalan at sabi nga ni Director Giselle, we have PAASE members of all ages from octogenarians to the younger set, yung mga millennials. Ang natatandaan ko ay wala pang 1 taon mula nung nagpirmahan ng DOST at ang PAASE ng isang memorandum of agreement at natutuwa naman ako dahil sa loob lang ng ilang buwan ay napakarami ng nangyari sa mga suggestions na ibinigay ko. Unang-una, sabi ko ay magtayo ng isang PAASE Foundation na kung saan pwedeng maging channel din yan ng mga resources para magamit sa iba't ibang activities katulad ng research and development. Ang natatandaan ko noon ay ang mga meeting at masasarap na hapunan sa bahay ni Dr. Giselle sa La Vista. Ako noon ang madalas nagre-represent kay Secretary Alabastro at doon ko nakita kung gaano ka sabihin na nating passionate si the late Congressman Villapuerte sa pagtulong sa atin at hindi lang naman doon, kung hindi iba't ibang meeting pa, lalo na yung pagdadala niya sa atin sa Malacanang. At doon ko nakita ang napakagandang pananaw ng ating dating Pangulo Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo tungkol sa science and technology. Bagamat masasabi kong masusi ang kanyang mga pagtatanong sa atin, natatandaan ko. At meron siyang mga habilin, sabi niya, ito ay maganda pero kahit na ito ay sa UP itatayo, kailangan ito magamit din ng kahit hindi taga-UP itong mga facilities na ito. At natatandaan ko din na itong science complex na ito ang naging isa sa mga unang beneficiary ng income mula sa VAT. Yun ang aking pagkakatanda. Ngayon, nung maaprubahan yung science complex, ang engineering ay humihingi ng bahagi dun sa naaprubahan. Ang sabi ng mga taga-science, humingi kayo ng sa inyo. At ganun nga aming ginawa, Secretary Alabastro, tinulungan din kami si Senator Jude Magsaysay naman ang natatandaan kasama namin. At yun naman ang naging daan para magkaroon din kami ng engineering complex. Madam former President, nung araw meron lang kami isang Melchor Hall na nandun kami lahat. Ngayon po, bawat departamento ng engineering ay may sariling building na mas malaki pa doon sa original na Merchol Hall. At doon ko nakita ang umpisa ng pag-expand ng mga graduate programs sa UP in particular, na naging daan naman sa pagkakaroon natin ng ma-accommodate ng mas maraming mga scholars. Kaya nag-open naman ang DOST ng mga scholarships. At yan naman ang nagkaroon ng multiplier effect. Kasi ito pong mga scholars na ito na nag-aral sa UP ay nakakalat na sa halos lahat ng lugar sa Pilipinas. At lumakas na rin yung kanilang mga universidad na kinabibilangan o mga research agencies na kanilang pinuntahan. Bukod pa dun siyempre sa mga ating mga siyentipiko na umibang bansa at naging mahuhusay din sila sa kanilang kinalalagyan. Ito na po ang masasabi kong naging umpisa ng ating pag-angat in terms of ating sabihin na nating performance sa innovation. Katunayan po, umangat tayo ng halos doble. Noong 2014, ang ating ranking sa Global Innovation Index ay number 100 out of 125 countries or economies. Umangat po yan hanggang sa noong 2020 ay naging number 50 na tayo out of 131 economies. So a jump from rank 100 to rank 50 is something we are proud about. And this is mainly due to the output innovation factor, where we rank high. Up to now, we are in number 40 or 41 in the output innovation ranking, whereas in the input innovation ranking, we are still in number 71. And everyone knows that the input innovation ranking has something to do with the investments that the government and even the private sector has to put in science and technology. Yung tinatanong kanina ni former President Arroyo tungkol sa mga UNESCO statistics, yung pong ating R&D expenditures as a percentage of GDP is still low. Kahit tumaas po yung ating numerator, tumataas din ang ating denominator, although meron namang increases. Pero malayo pa po tayo dun sa 1% target na UNESCO for percentage of R&D expenditures versus GDP. The good news is that maybe because of the scholarships that we had, particularly in the increase in master's and PhD scholarships, not only here, but we are still sending graduate scholars abroad, particularly in fields where our universities here cannot yet offer. We have already crossed the average number of R&D workers per country, okay, according to UNESCO. We have already, according to our 2018 statistics, which we had just announced, we had already crossed the 380 per million population. And that is a very remarkable improvement. I actually, when I came in, I would like to give credit to where credit is due. The first persons, when I was appointed as secretary, which I did not, I never expected. I was called to Mindanao, to Davao. I thought that there was I would be interviewed, only to find out that we were already going to be announced, including Secretary Pernia, Secretary Briones, Dr. Jokno, and the first thing that happened after that, it was a weekend. It was a brief conversation with Giselle, okay, and she actually outlined the things that she and Dr. Ernie Pernia had discussed, and this really have become, shall we say, my goals or vision also, and this is one. How to make science and technology contribute to inclusive and sustainable development. And this has been our guidepost, in launching our new programs, particularly the establishment of niche research centers in the regions. I don't know whether you know, the PAASE people know that when I came in, the percentage share of grants in aid for research, around 83% is in Metro Manila, in Calabarzon and in Central Luzon. 17% remaining is distributed among the different regions of the country, the other regions, and that is what we are trying to correct. This inequality, even in terms of research and development activities, and so we encourage the setting up of niche research centers in the regions. Initially, when it started in 2017, it was only the agricultural universities which made proposals. So we have a niche research center for almost every important commodity, from seaweeds to freshwater eel to sea cucumber, and about 20 of them niche research centers all over the country in very important commodities. But in 2018, the proposals for the setting up of industry, energy, emerging technologies, niche research centers came about. And so we had already approved research centers, for example, for advanced batteries, research center for materials used for renewable energy, particularly the batteries. And we had, for example, Madam former President, last November 24, I made a visit to Pampanga universities. And this is the good news. Angeles University Foundation has now a niche research center for raw materials for therapeutics, diagnostic kits, and vaccines. And I mean, their projects are remarkable. I visited Holy Angel University, and because of the Balik Scientist program, which PAASE supports very much, we now have a very strong program in electronics and communications in Holy Angel. They have a project together with the Philippine Navy, which we are supporting, and many others. This year, they focused on the niche research centers for health and medical research. And I think PAASE has been contributing a lot, not only in terms of the Balik scientists who have been coming and contributing even virtually in some instances, but also because of their PAASE's response to our call to see what they can do with our provinces. Because, you know, I think the inequality will remain if our provinces will not develop. And one observation I had made is that while we now have a science and technology and innovation chapter in the Philippine Development Plan, in the provinces, there is no mention yet of science, technology, and innovation in the provincial development plan. So I'm grateful, for example, for the first volunteer, Dr. Alvin Culaba, who went to Leyte to do the initial work in this particular concern. And now we have also a volunteer in the Caraga region. And just last weekend, Dr. Giselle and I were in Bataan, although we still have to formalize it. But I think in actual activities, we are already very much felt in the province of Bataan. So I guess the word will spread, and I am sure that many more provinces will follow suit. And one thing that well, this may not be a PAASE initiative, gusto ko lang pasalamatan si former President Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo. Ako po, Madam former President, ay isa dun sa mga parating nahihiram ng DOST mula pa noong 1982. So, padalawa-dalawang taon. Sa inyo lang po pinagtagal 10 taon. Ako po ay naglingkod na planning chief noong panahon ni President Marcos, presidente ng Technology Application and Promotion Institute, 2 taon noong panahon ni President Cory, 10 taon po as Undersecretary noong inyong panahon, at 4 na taon ng panahon ni President Noy Aquino bago ako ay nagretiro na rin gawa ng aking compulsory retirement age. But ang masasabi ko lang po, nakita ko naman na dahil siguro sa DOST, hindi po kamukha ng ibang ahensya. Pag nagpalit ng secretary ay nagpapalit ng programa, sa amin po ay mas marami ang ay may continuity. Kaya po yung programa namin sa SMEs na sinimulan ni Secretary Alabastro 2003, ay napakalakas pa po hanggang ngayon. At gano'n naman tayo sa DOST. Merong isang natatandaan ko at ito naman siguro ay natatandaan din ni Secretary Nina. Ako po ang nag-chair ng e-government committee nung panahon ng ITEC. At natatandaan ko 5 committee yun at doon nagsimula itong mga ICT programs or e-government programs na sinimulan din ni President GMA. Magkasama kami ni Bir Peña at yan po ang talagang naging simula ng ating e-government programs na natatandaan ko ang kondisyon naman ni President Arroyo, it has to be interagency. Okay? So yung mga sariling proyekto niyo sa ahensya, kayo magpopondo, but if it will be interagency, that will be taken care by the e-government program. Marami na rin po talaga nangyari at siguro ito na yung pagkakataon na magpasalamat after 15 years. Okay? And siyempre po, kami ni Secretary Alabaso ay galing naman sa engineering at masasabi ko ay napakalaki ng naging bunga ng ating ng ginawang suporta. Yung kauna-unahang, sabi nga ni President Arroyo, hindi namin alam kung paano gagastahin nung una dahil hindi pa sanay na humawak ng ganoong pera. Pero nangyari naman po. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat.
Maraming salamat, Sec Boy. Malapit na siguro at may papasyal na ninyo ni Sec Nina si PGMA sa ERDT buildings. Mas marami pa ata kaysa sa National Science Complex buildings. Pero ang maganda nagtanim ng maraming good seeds. Ngayon, the seeds are growing and flourishing. At this point, I'd like to introduce the series of well-wishers, PGMA, starting with our champion province frontliner, your host at the 2000 PAASE meeting in the Century Park Hotel. But before that, I would like to make a special mention of our PAASE stalwart, Madam Miren Amorfina Santos, who is the ate of your very, very important staff then, the late attorney Ching Vargas. Andito po si Ching through her ate Miren Santos, my very dear friend, who helped me co-host many of our meetings, Sec Boy, in my house. My best friend Miren Santos. So at this point, I would like to call former PAASE President Alvin Culaba of De La Salle University. He'll be followed by our elders based in the United States, Al Albano and then Amador Muriel. We will keep it short. And then we will ask another former president of PAASE, Gobet Advincula. Madam President, tumulong po si Gobet sa pagsusulat ng speech and on STI. And si Gobet din naman po ay involved nga doon sa Bataan. We are reaching out to the provinces. Meron po tayong mga projects sa Leyte, sa Bataan, tapos na rin po sa Rizal, which is led naman by our President-elect, who will close this event with his message. I know you have another event, Madam President, but maybe another 7 minutes of your time. Pwede ba po? Alvin?
I will miss the entire funeral if I don't leave now.
It's a funeral. I thought it was a wedding. I'm so sorry.
No. It was an 8:30 mass followed by interment. So I said I would be there by 9:10.
Well, I'm so sorry. It's already late, no? So
I will have the balance of the program recorded so that I can hear all the messages. Thank you so much.
It will be posted. All of our events are posted on our website. Our documentation is good. So maraming salamat po if you are already ready to leave. And we will still give our testimonials with our final set of speakers. And at this point, we'd like to thank you for gracing this very, very important occasion today.
We just have one picture with everybody.
Yes. Oh, the photo. Yes. Before the president leaves, Mag-gallery tayo. I hope Secretary Boy can turn on. Okay. So maganda. I am taking photos myself. Ready? First frame. And then the second frame. Sige po. Maraming salamat. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So, well, I'm not able to recognize everyone present here, but there are very important PAASE members here who are committed. At this point, we'll hear from Alvin, and then Al, Amador, and then Gobet.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Good evening in the US and other parts of the world. Afternoon. Para kay former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, former Secretary Estrella F. Castro, at saka si Secretary Boy de la Peña. Of course, my colleagues here in PAASE. Marami na nasabi about campaign that I've been involved with. I've been a privilege to, to be part of that group. So perhaps we fully recognize, that this has started back in 2005, 2006, at saka nag-culminate ito doon sa 2007 when former President GMA personally accepted our invitation to be our guest of honor at our APAMS 2007. So marahil ang role ko dito is that, at that time, ako yung na-elect na presidente ng PAASE. And it was probably a milestone in the organization because ito yung panahon na unang-unang pumili ng isang presidente na naka-base sa Pilipinas. So I was the first Philippine-based president, of PAASE. And then naging tradition na ito in subsequent years na every other year nag-elect na tayo ng presidente na nag-alternate between US and the Philippines. But of course, it's just a tradition. It's not part of really in our constitution. But somehow, ang role ko lang dito is to ensure na kung ano man ang mga napag-usapan at saka na-commit ni former President PGMA doon sa covenant ng agreement natin, na maipatuloy ito. So malaking responsibilidad sa panahon ko na talagang maisulong yung mga programa na talagang pinaghirapan natin lahat ng PAASE. Of course, at that time, we were led by former chairman of PAASE, Albano, and of course, Giselle and the four others who were with us at that time. So malaking oras ang inano namin. I remember, Giselle, many late nights. We have to meet at your place. Si former Secretary Alabastro would be there. Of course, the late Congressman Villafuerte. And I'm the only one coming from Manila. And I have to drive, every night, to your place. And at one point, I have to already bring my wife with me kasi baka nagtataka na yata siya, bakit gabi-gabi ka na, wala sa bahay, and she really was not really very much aware of what we were doing. So, I was very grateful for that. So, ako ay isang probinsyano at saka naging a privilege to benefit from the government scholarships. And ako ang pinakaunang scholar ng ESEP, isa sa first batch of ESEP scholars. Ma'am Alabastro at that time was the project leader, and at that time I do not know very well former Secretary Alabastro, but at the time when we were already working with PAASE, it was not very difficult for me to work with her in that campaign, primarily because sabi ko nga, ako yung una sa sa pinadala ng ESEP program ng DOST. At saka bumalik ako kaagad. Natapos ako, bumalik agad. And 10 years later, I was involved with PAASE, pursued this. 15 years later, we're still here. So sabi nga ni Secretary Boy de la Peña, our advocacy at PAASE this time is to bring these programs to the province. And I'm one of those who have volunteered to the DOST to push this program so that many of our kababayan, especially in the far-flung areas outside Metro Manila, can benefit from the many programs of DOST and this SNP sector in general. Because I am, of course, a testament to this, that I have actually benefited from the government programs. So my commitment to PGMA here is to continue what you have actually sowed. You have committed billions of monies to the infrastructure, to human resource development. And PAASE will be there, I will be there, to see this, through this commitment. And I hope that many more PAASE members will be with me and with us, as we enter in the next generation of leadership of incoming President Mario Santo Domingo, which we have already initially thought, let's go to the provinces, let's build, the massive, talent that we have. So I hope that the benefit will really, come down to the entire, country. So thank you so much, President GMA, for the commitment you have, and the trust that you've given to PAASE. And we will assure you that PAASE will be there to continue your, programs and the legacy that you have started. So, and of course, at this time, I also want to acknowledge former Congressman, the late Luis Villafuerte, whom I had the privilege of working in that campaign. And again, to him, we will commit to continue our PAASE programs. So thank you so much, former Secretary Alabastro and Secretary Boy de la Peña, for always being there for PAASE and for our programs. Thank you, Giselle, Marge, and everyone. Good morning.
Maraming salamat, Alvin, at talaga frontliners sa probinsya. Okay, total ang approach, whole of locality, whole of province approach. I'd like to recognize the presence of PGMA staff, Bertita Leda. So she is listening to us, and she will also update the former president on ongoings at the PAASE. At this time, we will call on Dr. Al Albano. Yes, Al? From Mountain View, California. Please unmute. Al? Oh, yes. It's all documented there. That's all documented there. And I gave PGMA a copy of that book and the other books that contain the Star Science articles that we wrote over 10 years. Yes, Al. Okay, thank you. All right. We can't hear you.
But I'm even more glad to see that the activities of PAASE are now centered more in the Philippines rather than abroad. That was the whole idea.
Exactly.
So going out to the provinces, that's a great job.
You started it, Al. You wrote the letter of appeal to PGMA. You'll never forget that, Al. Okay? It's a question of leadership, actually. Yes. So thank you for that. We'll hear from Amador, one of your best friends. Amador, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here. I'm awake. I represent the octogenarian wing of PAASE. Anyway, Ginang Pangulo, maraming salamat po. At Ginang Estrella Alabastro, salamat din sa iyo. Bye!
Maraming salamat, Amador. Nakita ninyo muli si Ma'am Nina. Anyways, ang kasunod nating magsasalita I think si Gobet. Gobet kasi frontliner rin sa Bataan. Kahit na naandun sa Amerika, walang katapusan. Kasama namin sa Bataan.
Well, it's a privilege for me to give my short remarks. And of course, I'd like to congratulate former President Macapagal Arroyo. And if she hears this, I'm really one of the beneficiaries that flowed out of that investment that was made. And I remember meeting Nina as a balik scientist at the DOST. And it was such an eye-opener for me that I can contribute to the Philippines at that time. And I went on to be part of the ERDT fellow, maybe one of the first ERDT fellows. And through my involvement with PhilDev, I actually interacted a lot with Gab and Aura. So moving forward, I congratulate our stalwarts, Al Albano and Dr. Muriel, and of course Giselle, the ultimate PAASE PAASE leader that has led us in many forefronts. And of course, like Giselle mentioned, I was the former president of PAASE, and I remember we schemed on many things, after her term and then my term. So fast forward, with doing currently with DOST, yung project natin sa AMCEN, the first additive manufacturing center, perhaps in ASEAN, except for Singapore. We established that years ago together with Gab and of course with the leadership of Secretary De La Peña. And now Bataan is our experiment on regional collaboration with PAASE. So I think we'll follow the footsteps also of what Alvin has been doing in Leyte. So hopefully we'll have these clusters of regional centers and expertise that will not only bring economic development. Actually, I'm looking forward to human resource. There's yet a lot of untapped Filipinos all over the country that will be the next talent, the next generation talent. So actually, that's really one of my ulterior motives. So with that, maraming salamat sa inyong lahat and keep well.
Maraming salamat, Gobet, Ma'am Nina. Gobet was with us at the meetings in Bataan. Nag-present din yung mga chief of staff at mga staff of the various projects of Governor Abet Garcia. Grabe, ang ang gagaling doon. Pati nasa Bataan Peninsula State University, yung mga minentor ni Gobet at ni Alvin. Kaya yung idea natin na pumunta sa mga probinsya, ayan yung mga frontliners natin, andyan na sa 3 probinsya. Tapos magtuturoan pa. We will learn from one another. Kung ano yung mga strengths nila sa probinsya na yun, ituturo doon sa iba pang probinsya. Si Alvin lang, ang laki na ng impact doon sa Bataan kasi minentor niya yung si Hill Cruz ng BPS. Grabing dynamic. Ang gagaling nila, mga bata. Pero kailangan pa rin nila mag-PhD at mag-postdoc. So doon natin kailangan talaga ng support. SNP Human Capital Development pa rin. So at this point, I think VP Mario, President-elect Mario, I think magsasalita na ba? O yung ating performance muna ni Liza V. Rata.
Liza V muna.
Liza V muna.
Performance.
Tapos mamaya, yes, Liza V.
And then a photo op. So people have to stay for photo op.
Photo op. Tapos kung sino pang gustong magsalita kasi ang daming mga, ating mga PAASE stalwarts na andito ngayon. Former presidents, hindi ko pa na-mention, na-recognize, at yung ating most active members andyan din. So Liza V, ikaw na. Yung inyong kwarentados ulit. Ang gagaling. Multi-talented talagang mga taga-Pisay.
Unmute.
Andiyan pa ba si Richmond? Ipe-play na ba? Screen share? Oh, multiple naman eh. Okay. Ayan na.
Chicky bara, 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 chicky Takes the paper for the lanterns, make a list of gifts and toys, add a score of happy carols for the guests to sing along. Choose the brightest lights you have, new or old, it doesn't matter. Invitations to your guests is necessary, it's to this, but don't forget the Christmas spirit and kindness. What spices, the best ingredients of Christmas. Oh no, and to it the celebration with family. The birth of Christ, the real meaning of Christmas. Putting together a Christmas party like cooking a tasty chili con carne, chili con carne, con chili con carne. Aha, let's go! Chili con carne, 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 con chili con carne. Aha, that's good! Read the dance all nice and slowly, praise and stories, fill their plates. Savor your lechon de leche, a tradition you can't break. When your mouth is full of thirst, you might need something to drink. 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 7 beers will be enough. But don't forget the Christmas spirit and kindness. The spices, the best ingredients of Christmas. Oh no, and to it the celebration with family. The birth of Christ, the real meaning of Christmas. Putting together a Christmas party like cooking a tasty chili con carne, chili con carne, con chili con carne. Aha, let's go! Chili con carne, 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 con chili con carne, con carne. Ah, dia, 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 ba la da, ba da dia, do 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 do, ba da da da, ba ba da 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 da, ba ba da ba 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 da ba 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 da ba 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 da. Wapiti badada tiba, batiki bacha, wapiti badada tiba, batiki bacha, wapiti badada tiba, batiki bacha, wapiti badada tiba papa. Wapiti badada tiba, batiki bacha, wapiti badada tiba, batiki bacha, wapiti badada tiba, batiki bacha, wapiti batiki badada. Don't forget the Christmas spirit and kindness. Don't forget the kindness like spices, the best ingredients of Christmas. Oh no, don't forget the Christmas spirit and kindness. Don't you forget, without them you won't get the meaning of the real meaning of Christmas. Chili con carne, 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 con chili con carne. Ah, let's eat! Chili con carne, 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 con chili con carne, 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 con chili con carne. Aha! Chili con carne, chili con carne, chili con carne. Aha!
Fantastic.
Ang galing.
Let us give chili con carne
YouTube. Let's post it in YouTube.
amazing, top quality. So yung mga ating STEM, ISAI, alum, all over, UP, in other universities here and abroad, napaka-talented. So creativity and art, they're very intertwined now with technology, obviously. Grabe yung technology dito. Lisa V, grabe, ang ganda-ganda ng chili con carne. Thank you.
Please like and heart and comment on our video on the Galing Pisay Facebook page. We're entering the 2021 Pascoros competition with this entry.
So, fantastic, Lisa V. Baka pwede tayo din, sorry mag-fundraising and we can feature quarantine.
Sure.
Mario, please.
Okay, parang
Mario's
gusto na namin
turn.
sumali sa Quarentados din.
Yung blending, yung sinasabi ko na hindi individual voices, yung sinasabi ko sa iyo, Lisa V, andyan sa Quarentados.
Mahirap kantahin yan.
Mahirap kantahin yan.
Mahirap talaga.
yung half beat, no? Yung kanyang rhythm. So at this point, the highlight, second highlight is the message from our move forward Vice President and President-elect, Mario Santo Domingo, after which we will open the floor to comments and greetings from everybody. Okay, Mario, take it away.
Okay, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Kay former President Honorable Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, na sana mapanood niya ang bahaging ito ng programa. Former Secretary Estrella Alabastro, Secretary Boy de la Peña, PAASE President Giselle Concepcion, PAASE Board Chair Marge Peña, PAASE officers and colleagues. Magandang umaga po at magandang gabi mula rito sa East Coast ng Amerika. Ako po si Mario Santo Domingo, isang research scientist sa University of Maryland, Baltimore County, at ang President-elect ng PAASE para sa 2022-2023. Ako rin po ay alumnus ng UP Diliman at ng Johns Hopkins University School of Advanced International Studies. This is indeed an opportune time to express our gratitude and appreciation for people and institutions that led us to where we are right now. Responding to the needs of the Filipino scientific community and the young generation of scientists then, 15 years ago, to commit resources to advance the development of science and technology research and innovation in the country is something we should all be proud of. I wish I was there when the Executive Order 583 was signed and witnessed the excitement of the time. So we are very thankful for President Macapagal Arroyo for making it happen. We are thankful for the late Congressman Luis Villaferte for being the bridge that connected PAASE to the executive branch, making possible the creation and approval of legal instrument and fiscal appropriations that paved the way for the National Science Complex in UP. The next 2 years of PAASE will definitely benefit from what happened in 2006 and 2007. The increasing membership of the Academy with experts from a diversity of scientific disciplines who passed through the halls of the beneficiaries of EO 583 augur well for the sustainability of efforts toward accomplishing our interrelated goals. So for the next 2 years, we wish to continue our collaborative partnerships with national and local government, educational institutions, and the private sectors, including media, industries, and other professional organizations to push the development of our human resource in scientific research. I would add academic institutions and networks in Asia, such as Taiwan, and of course, the US and other parts of the world. We would like to improve or contribute to the improvement of science education across the spectrum of the Philippine educational system through programs that will increase student performance, enrollment, retention, and graduation rates in STEM, and entry into and receipt of degrees in advanced STEM, graduate programs such as PhD and MD PhD. We would like to continue reaching out to communities and in the Philippines, especially the poor regions, to make sure that they get the benefits of our efforts in the centers of education and research in the Philippines, the United States, and elsewhere globally. We also want to advocate for relevant policies in the Philippines for increased representation of scientists and their voices in policy-making bodies relevant to health, science, and technology. In the US, on the other hand, we would like to advocate for the recognition of Filipino Americans as underrepresented minorities in STEM, thereby increasing resources for STEM education and for broadening their participation in research careers. I would like to express my gratitude at this point to outgoing President Giselle Concepcion, without whose committed, active, passionate, and inspired leadership of PAASE in the last 23 months, we would not be in this position right now to pursue several programs if not for her. Programs that are aligned with our missions. Ang PAASE po ay naitawid ni Giselle sa panahon ng COVID using its strength, which is its membership, enhancing its resiliency through alternative modes of engagements and generating very productive outcomes. Thanks too for our outgoing chair, Dr. Marge Peña, for her very able leadership of the board. Okay, and another outgoing BOD member, Dr. Joel Coelho, our PAASE constitutionalist. I'd also like to remind our members that the election of our president-elect and also board members are still ongoing. I'd like to greet everyone at this point. A very, very happy holiday season. May the generous spirit of Christmas and New Year be with all of us. Maraming salamat po. And we would like to invite everyone again for the group photo. Salamat po at meron tayong open forum. Yes, Giselle?
Yes, maraming salamat Mario. I'm telling you, ito na yung huling meeting as a president. Maraming salamat sa lahat ng tulong at cooperation, enthusiasm, dedication ng buong PAASE, lalo pa yung ating officers and board members. And yes, we will have some more group photos, and anyone who wants to speak, please raise your hand. And I think we have PGMA back with us. I saw her earlier, but let me see, baka naman busy na naman si PGMA. Pero sana naman madinig ni PGMA yung kwarantados at yung ating mga salutations, no? So anyways, sige nga, kung sinong gustong magsalita dyan habang nagpo-photograph tayo ng grupo. Ito na pa yung ating masayang huling pagsasalo-salo na presidente ako. Kasi we are moving to the able visionary leadership of a sociologist, a psychologist whom we need at this time in our history in PAASE. So maraming salamat, Mario. No, you will bring PAASE to greater heights. Okay? So beyond what I have tried to do. Photo, raised hands for anybody who wants to speak. Former presidents and current board members. Andyan po si Laino Lansigan. Andyan si Julius Leaño. Andyan si Al Sharafica, andyan si Gladys Completo, gusto mo niya magsalita, and then of course andyan si NSF Director Edsel Peña and Secretary Lulu Herold. Mga committed po yan lahat sa ating PAASE. Sila yung nagdadala talaga ng PAASE. Anybody who wants to speak, please just unmute. And well, konti na lang yung panahon natin.
Kumusta kayo ni Connie?
Yes, Al, kamusta rin kay Connie? I miss her very much. Maraming salamat. Okay, meron pa bang gustong magsalita? Si Al, kadalasan si Al merong gustong i-share na message sa atin. Julius, yan yung ating frontliner sa DOST na napakagaling. Gladys from UPLB. Ino, former Dean of Arts and Sciences in UPLB, ating board member. Sige naman, mag-share naman kayo.
Very quickly lang, I just wanted to take the opportunity as well to acknowledge Dr. Amador Muriel and of course Secretary Alabastro, because they were actually the commencement speaker when I graduated in UP Diliman back in 2001, and 1 year thereafter already joined DOST, and the rest is history. Ma'am Nina, Dr. Alabastro, I'm already 20 years in DOST by May of next year, so still working too hard in PTRI. At saka po si Secretary Alabastro, Ma'am Giselle, is the resident fashion model of PTRI because she always wears the technologies, the fabrics being developed by PTRI, from the natural dyes all the way to the natural fiber-based textiles. So that's why we had a very, very productive year under her term, and we are benefiting from those seeds, as you said, that they have sown during her time. So thank you po. Maraming salamat. Merry Christmas.
Nako, ma'am, ito po yung ating pambato sa DOST, itong si Julius Leaño. Grabe. Oo, graduate na ng NTU. Siyempre, fabric pa rin ang focus niya. Pero kung ano pang mga ni-research sa NTU, LED pati. Okay? So Julius, champion natin ang Philippine Fabrics together with your Director Celia Lumba. Maraming salamat. Meron pang gusto magsalita? Al, Edsel, please. Ngayon na ang panahon bago tayo mag-end.
Yes, please, Gladys. Can I just share also?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for I'm really inspired by what you have done, Ma'am Giselle, and all of the PAASE members. And I just want to share, hindi ko po masyado itong sinishare na I'm also a product of Philippine Science po, batch 85 po ako. And then DOST from undergrad, DOST up to SF for my MS. So it's about time that I give back to our government, to DOST. So maraming salamat to Ma'am Giselle for nominating me for the VP position, at sana po magawa namin lahat ang mga plano ng PAASE. And also, gusto ko lang po i-share na bumoto po kami sa inyo, Ma'am President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. When I was a graduate student, kaming dalawa po ng husband ko, we even went to Chicago just to vote for her when she ran for presidency. So talaga pong very important sa amin yun nung we traveled just to vote for her kasi ayaw po namin mangyari yung previous administration. And thank you very much for all the support. So yun lang po.
Gladys, napaka-galing mong tao. Ako'y naniniwala sa iyo. You're like the best rec chair. Okay? You did things on your own initiative. So, siya po yung ating lone VP President-elect candidate. Kaya the course of PAASE is set. Mario works well with her. Marge works well with her. She's so committed to membership and to all other projects of the PAASE. So maraming salamat.
Thank you, ma'am.
Giselle, since you asked me,
yes.
I just wanted to be quiet, but since it's your last meeting, and I think Mars also it's last meeting as board chair, I'd like to thank both of you and of course Mario. Welcome as the new president. But one thing that I'd like to say regarding the investment that the Philippines had done with respect to science and engineering is you could see it. Lisa is a Philippine science graduate. Gladys is a Philippine science graduate. Of course, Al is also a Philippine science graduate. And one of the things that people do not realize that Philippine science kind of blocked us from these tiny little towns in the Philippines. Maybe I always say that I would have been a great fisherman if not for Philippine science, but Philippine science took us without, of course, I did never know if we're going to succeed or not, but we kind of succeeded, I suppose. And that's an investment. Somehow, of course, I stayed in the US, but I always feel that I kind of contributed to the Philippines too, because some of my students here were all from the Philippines, and some of them stayed, some went back to the Philippines, and in some sense, I think that's a contribution to that. Of course, we're always willing to help PAASE in that sense. Thank you, Dr. Alabastro, and that's the not only Philippine science, by the way, I was also an INTAP scholar, which is one of the scholarship in Los Baños. I think we were the third batch of it, and that helped me a lot in my career. As I said, I would have been a great fisherman, which would have been great too. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Edsel. Malaki talaga, napaka-active ng UPLB block o grupo sa PAASE here and abroad. Okay? So, malinaw na malinaw.
I should add that Pilino was my professor. And Willie Padolina and Mrs. Padolina were my professor. Emil Javier was the chancellor when I was a student there. So, so it's nice to see all of those.
Si Elmer Moica sa PACE o si Amy Del Mundo sa UP Austin, mga UPLB graduates yan. Diana Aga, UPLB. Pero at this point, I also want to say, bukod sa PSI, meron tayong mga Manila Science High School graduates na napaka-outstanding. Sino sila? Si Gobet Advincula at si Michael Puruganan. Kaya meron ding mga other science high schools na napakagaling. At yung mga nasa probinsya, nung panahon ni Al Albano at ni Pedro Jose, saan kayo gumraduate, Al? Ha? Saan kayo gumraduate sa Ilocos? At ikaw, Amador, saan ka gumraduate? Marikina High School. Hindi nga ba?
Marikina High School.
Yan. So meron tayong mga public high schools. And si Alvin, Tacloban.
Public high school din ako. Sa Dungas High School sa Ilocos Norte.
Anita na talagang
I just want to add also that it wasn't just the Philippine science that was supported by NSDB at that time. I was not a Philippine science graduate, but when I went to college, there were a lot of scholarships for undergraduates through the NSDB. And that's how I got to where I was. Otherwise, I would again be another fisherwoman or pineapple woman pioneer, if not for the NSDB scholarships that we received to get the science education. And I have to tell, I told Julius this, I actually did my internship as a junior in college at PTRI. So I learned how to use the mass spec and all those instruments as a BS Chem undergrad at the PTRI.
Fantastic. Imagine that. PTRI pala. I didn't know that. Marami tayong natutunan sa isa't isa. Doon sa lunch namin na hinost ni Sec Boy sa Bataan, na banggit ko sa kanila na ako ay, high school graduate ako ng assumption. Naman kasi assumption graduate din na. Pero yung aking chemistry teacher na, kinukuha sa akin at nagkataon, pumasa ako. Kaya ako nakarating sa UP Chemistry. So, kahit saan pa tayo galing, basta naandun naman yung talent, naandun naman yung IQ at EQ, pwede naman tayo mag-succeed kahit saan pa tayo galing. Walang monopoly of talent kay public, private, high school, in the end, we are here because we are like-minded and like-hearted. Alam natin, science and technology lang talaga, to me, is the most important driver of socio-economic progress and development.
I better speak up because I graduated from, not Assumption, I graduated from the St. James Academy, which is the precursor of Maryknoll College. Magkalaban tayo, Maryknoll. And also I'm a graduate of University of San Carlos, where the idea of the campaign was born in 2005 when you partnered with Padilla, your student. You remember you mentioned that in
Padilla. It's Danny Largo, and then my RA, my longtime in-house RA, Sheila Pimentel Elardo.
Oh my God, I made a mistake. It's in the minutes. And I also would like to say that it was I was an observer. I was already a member during the time you were doing this. I remember waiting for the emails. Every time the emails came in 2006, the progress of your campaign. I remember you were emailing us, oh, this happened. And one of the most gratifying times were when the 5 people from the United States, with their own money, went to the Philippines to support. They didn't speak, but they just were there in Congress. That was, for me, very, very impressive that they did that. And I think some of them are here. Albano, were you there?
Yes, no.
No, but Pedro Jose, Pedro and Ed Mendoza.
Mendoza, yes.
Yeah, but of course I have to thank GMA and also Alabastro and De La Peña. However, Giselle, you're outgoing. Let me tell you, I've been secretary for many years. It has been a very exhausting time for me as secretary because I have never written a minutes for every freaking month during this year and last year, and I don't believe it. And the meeting lasted for 3 hours. If you're wondering how productive her regime was, it was because we stayed for hours and hours during those meetings. It was
pictures to prove that.
Huh?
Pictures of survivors of the meetings.
Survivors.
Exhausting, but Giselle, it was highly fulfilling as a secretary to see before my eyes the awesomeness of the members of PAASE. Every time I wrote, I just couldn't believe how awesome the members are.
Yeah.
Included Muriel.
Well, move on all fronts. Because there's so much talent in PAASE. We have to move on all fronts. Yung mga long haulers dyan, of course, Marge, Mario, Alvin, Ino, you, me, 3 hours. Alvin, Ino, yan, laging.
Yeah. Welcome to the new BOD, the new survivors.
Oh my God. I'm wondering how the new, like Mario and Completo, Oh my God, they're awesome. It will be an awesome group coming. But
Ako, I will just keep quiet. I'll keep my mouth shut. It's about time. Okay? So
no, I mean, thank you very much, Giselle.
no, Lulu, thank you very much. We never had minutes of our meetings written like you have done it.
Oh my God.
Last
novella. Oh my gosh. Have a good time in the United States.
Thank you. Yeah. Time for me to rest a bit. Yes. Yeah. So Mario, I think last word is always from you, the leader of PAASE, the new leader of PAASE.
Well, what can I say? But salamat po ng marami sa inyong lahat. This is really an amazing, event. I wish PGMA is still with us, but hopefully she'll be able to watch, through the end of the program. And we would like to invite everyone to join us in the new year of PAASE. We will basically continue, a lot of the things that Giselle initiated, but of course, since we'll be a new set of officers with a new vice president and 3 new board of directors, there will for sure be new things that will come up, and we are very excited. Everyone is welcome, to participate and get your slice of the pie, and we are willing to listen and march along with you wherever our joint efforts will take us. Maraming salamat po, at again, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas,
everyone. Salamat po.
Maraming salamat.
Salamat.
Christmas, everyone.
Maraming salamat at maligayang Pasko sa lahat.
To move forward our initiatives, Ma'am Nina.
Okay. Looking forward.
GMA.
We're looking forward to you.
Capital Development, Ma'am Nina.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you. Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye now.
Bye, Gladys.
Bye.
Blessed Christmas.
Merry
Christmas, everyone.
Lisa, nice music.
Lisa, let's put that on YouTube.
Marge, bye-bye, Lulu.
Vote for us.
Bye, Alvin.
I'll send you the link so you can vote for us.
Congrats. Yeah, send us the link.
That was awesome.
Yeah, very awesome.
Grabe, no?
Nice.
Hello, Gladys.
Hi, Gladys.
Say something so I can take your picture.
Yan na si Gladys. The future face of PAASE.
Okay, paalam.
I want her picture. Good job, Marge.
Fantastic.
For Gladys, hold it. Gladys, say something so I can take your picture.
On BOD, it was fun.
Ma'am Lulu, thank you for patiently waiting for my for my packet.
Oh my God!
Thank you very much.
That was well thought out. Yeah, that was well. It was worth waiting for.
I had to, because thank you, Bob.
Good job, Gladys.
Okay, bye-bye.
I have to
Bye, everyone.
Two dear friends who are 15 years older than me. Sorry, Amador Muriel and Al Albato. They are youthening.
Nasaan si Muriel? Nasaan si Amador?
Si Amador, tinan mo. 15 years old. Si Al Albano, ganun din. Yan yung mga kaibigan ko, yan yung barkada ko from early
Where's Albano? Wala si Albano.
Wala na si Al.
Al left.
Na ba?
Yung age group nila, yun. Pero they don't look their age. So they are what I call youthening. Bumabata. Bumabaliktad. Parang Benjamin Button.
Okay, malapit na tayo dyan. Malayo ka pa, Alvin.
Okay, may balita ako sa inyo.
Anong balita?
Hindi mo na
For 2 years, I have been teaching online at Rizal Technological University, where I teach astrophysics.
Wow.
Tapos publish na ng paper.
Yeah, may announcement. The RTU faculty for the first time had a paper published in an international journal.
Wow.
Yes.
Very good.
Ganyan. Kaya nung sinabi ni Amador yan, kinuwento ko rin na yung ating pinag-MOU sa Taiwan, si Professor Wu, nako, mga Mandaluyong Science High School, and then ayan din, University of Rizal Technological University, nag-aaral doon sa kanilang universities. Nag-aaral, mga taga-Mandaluyong. Kaya kailangan tumulong tayo sa mga willing na tulungan. Ganun lang, no? Kaya sa Bataan, sa Leyte, sa Rizal, pag ikinuwento ni Mario yung ginagawa niya sa Rizal, tapos si Ino, malapit na yung mag-fireside chat about the efforts in Pangasinan, talagang yung ating tulong is on the provincial or locality level. Kasi kailangan ng public governance Yun yung na-realize na natin ngayon, di ba? Oo, hindi tayo pwede sa mga campuses natin. Kailangan talagang pumunta sa probinsya. Okay. Sige na, wala nang katapusan.
Okay, bye!
Bye! Merry Christmas!
Bye! Paalam sa lahat.
Oh, wonderful job.
Lisa,
Beautiful
paalam.
program. Wait, Lisa, ang galing-galing nyo.
See you again.
Anong ginamit mong I will talk to you later, Lisa. Hoy, Mario, good job.
Yeah, thank you, Lulu. Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Matulog na tayo. Maybe I will sleep now.
Merry Christmas. Gabi na yan sa
Merry
inyo.
Christmas. Bye-bye.
See you sa party.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Giselle. Thank you.
Alvin.
Bye-bye. Lisa.
Bye,
nice.
Alvin.
Bye,
I know you
Lulu.
work so hard.
Sir Muriel.
He's at another meeting. Okay.
Now. Bye-bye.
I'll end now, ha? Maraming
Okay,
salamat.
sige.
Bye-bye.
Sige, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Giselle. Merry Christmas. Lulu, bye-bye.
Hindi nagsalita si Gonzalo Serapica.
He's at another meeting. I'm so sure.
Okay.
I'm sure.
So at least tapos na tayo kay PGMA and
Oo. Yeah.
It happened. It happened. Okay.
at least we
Totoo
did
yan Totoo naman siya talaga yung pinakamalaking investment sa SMT Hanggang
No, she
ngayon.
was very good. She was a very good speaker.
Ay,
Yan na. Alam mo, graduate siya ng Georgetown. Kasabay siya ni Clinton. Mag-classmate sila.
Ng UP, ng Ateneo, at ng Assumption. Kaya,
Sino? Si Gloria?
Of course. Assumption.
Assumption ba siya?
Assumptionista.
Tapos, UP, and then Ateneo, tapos Georgetown.
Nag-Georgetown. Classmate niya si Clinton. The other president.
Yes. Okay?
Yeah, sige.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Giselle. Congrats. Bye-bye. At least